Welcome back to my channel, guys, and as you might have seen in the thumbnail or the title of the video, today I'll be discussing some brand new information that came for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So now this information comes from the site The Ones Who Came Before. They essentially did an interview with the game director now. So his name is Eric. I'm just going to call him Eric because I can't pronounce his surname and I don't want to butcher it. So, there are a few things that were discussed in this interview, and these are not new per se. Some of the things we already knew. These are more elaborations on what we already knew. And of course, there are a few things that are new as well. So, yeah, without wasting any time, I would just like to say, if you end up liking the video, then the like would be brilliant, and do subscribe to my channel for more content. And let's just go. So, right in the beginning, I would again like to iterate, not everything that I'm going to say in this video is new per se, but there are a few new things that we have learned. Right. So there are a lot of questions. Some of the questions don't exactly pertain to the topic, so I won't be discussing them. So I'll start with what was probably the fourth question, and how does Norse mythology tie into the Assassin's Creed lore? Now, we saw with Odyssey, just for context, we saw with Odyssey that the Greek gods were also part of the issue. Even though it was never really established, it looked kind of out of place. So this question kind of makes sense. And the exact response, and I'm quoting it here and I will elaborate on it later on. I will quote the exact responses. The Pantheon of Nordic gods and Norse mythology played an important role in the daily lives of the Norse. The Norse customs and practices are integral to the world of Assassin's Creed Valhalla and the characters inhabiting the world, but otherwise we want to let the fans discover it when they play the game. So yeah, we can expect like the Nordic, we might even fight some of the Nordic gods. I'm just saying, because the kind of direction that Assassin's Creed is headed towards, I would not be surprised if that is the case. Valhalla looks more grounded than Odyssey, for sure, there is no doubt regarding that. But they might go for these boss battles as these are something, because the setting is already very close to Witcher 3. This will make it feel more like Witcher 3. People might buy the game for that, because we all know people sure as hell are not buying Assassin's Creed for Assassin's Creed anymore. They are buying it because these are these open worlds where you can fuck around and do whatever. So this answer kind of makes sense to me. The next question that was asked was Valhalla is bringing back social stealth and it adapts in a new way. So what are the tools we can use? Now that's not the exact question. So with the answer though, that I will quote. As a Viking during the time period, Eivor is not welcome into different towns and villages of England. The cloak you wear allows you to pass undetected within the crowd and avoid the guards' attention. When using your cloak, you have a variety of tools at your disposal. Eivor can use civilian workstations to stay undetected when a guard patrol comes nearby. You can trick drunkards to create chaos and lure guards away from the position. And the last tool is a reference to the first Assassin's Creed, blending into crowds in order to pass gatekeepers unnoticed. Now, we knew some of these things because obviously in the trailer itself we saw Eivor was basically making bread, sitting down with people eating, and also using the crowd nearby to kind of get past the guards with his hood on. So now I will elaborate on exactly what's happening here. So from what we already know is that when we toggle the hood, we also toggle the cloak. Essentially we go into stealth mode. So in this stealth mode, obviously our detection range is reduced and everything like that. But if we are still getting too close to the guards, then the guards will notice. So now a way to counter that is by blending into a crowd, maybe moving inside to maybe sit with someone. And this obviously is a new one, because I don't believe you actually had these kind of things back in Assassin's Creed, like any Assassin's Creed. We could have hired like thieves and stuff to distract the guards. Actually, yeah, we did have this, but in a different way. So now you can like create a distraction, create chaos so that the guards converge on that position and you can kind of go around them. So interesting, definitely, but we'll have to wait and see how this works out. So the next question was, how does Odin's sight differ from the traditional eagle vision? And again, I'll quote Eric here. Odin's sight represents Eivor's perceptions of your surroundings. It is a mix between your intuition and your perception of what is around you. It is like a sixth sense you can trigger at any time to highlight momentarily the nearby opportunities and dangers. So, it is eagle vision. We already saw that on the trailer. It is eagle vision, but it's not the eagle vision that we have become so used to in the older games. Now, in Assassin's Creed 1, 2 and Brotherhood, they had a very specific type of eagle vision where you could trigger it. In fact, you can play the whole damn game in eagle vision if you wanted to. Because I know for a fact that I tried to do that because I used to have an even crappier PC back in the day, and when I started playing these games, I actually didn't have the hardware to run them, even though I started playing these games around 2013-ish. So what I did was I used to keep the eagle vision on so that I get more frames per second. So yeah, my point being, in the older games you can have them like always on at all times if you want. But moving on to the newer games like Unity, Syndicate, they were more timed. So you can start it off. It will spread exactly like an eagle vision. It would exactly that like eagle vision, but it had a limited time. Now in Valhalla, the time has been cut down even shorter. Now that's mostly due to it being a variation on the Animus Pulse rather than the eagle vision that we traditionally had. And that's basically what you can see here. You can trigger it at any time to highlight momentarily being the keyword here. So momentarily, that just means that this is Animus Pulse, because Animus Pulse was like a momentary thing. You used to hit the button, it sends a pulse out, and it kind of reveals or highlights some of the interesting stuff that you can interact with in the world. Any stuff you can interact with, you can get with the Animus Pulse. So this is basically a slightly different Animus Pulse, but still keeping all of the same things. Now this will also reveal enemies as well, which the Animus Pulse in both Origins and Odyssey did not do. So that is the only difference, and that is why this is more akin to the traditional eagle vision than the Animus Pulse were in the last two games. Now the next question was, what abilities or skills are available for sign-in? Okay, again, I'm not good at these pronunciations. I will probably have to play the game to actually know what this name actually sounds like. So keep that in mind. So the question continues as, and how does the mechanic differ from what we saw in Origins and Odyssey? Now, Eric's answer to this was, Sign-In is Eivor's everyday companion. You can teach Sign-In new tricks through the ability system so that she can help you fight, distract or lure enemies or even attack them. The player can at any time look at the game from the Raven's perspective. This will highlight the most important activities and rewards in the Raven's vision. The player can also trigger Raven's stationary flight to use the bird eye view and spot even more elements like chests to collect, crafting minerals and animal presence. So this just shows that the eagle mechanic that we got in Origins, Odyssey and now in Valhalla. By the way, this is the same mechanic we had in Far Cry Primal, same mechanic we had in the Watch Dogs games where there was a drone instead of a bird, because this pretty much works like a drone. This is our drone in Assassin's Creed, and again that is going to the debate that how stale the Ubisoft games are and how they just lack innovation across the field, but I don't want to go into any of that. I just want to say this seems exactly like what we had with Senu. It seems exactly what we had with I can't remember the name of the eagle from Odyssey. I've played 200 hours of this damn game and I still can't remember the name of the eagle. What is wrong with me? Anyway, so yeah, basically it's the exact same thing that we saw before, although with some slight improvements, I would say, because it says that the ability system has some abilities, but the abilities themselves, we already saw them, like distract and lure enemies and even attack enemies. We had these abilities in Origins and Odyssey. This just seems like they included this ability in a skill tree this time instead of the eagle just having it. So again, something we'll have to see, but this seems exactly like what Origins and Odyssey had. So the next question was, can Eivor eat, drink, sleep and bathe? So now this is going into survival kind of a territory. Now this game is kind of going for the survival vibe. It is going for that you need to eat, regenerate your health. Your health is not just going to regenerate back, which I like. It was, and many people actually miss this. If you are someone who has only played the modern games, you might not know this, because in the older games, especially like in the Ezio trilogy, your health did not regenerate. You had to go to the doctor and get medicine and use that medicine, and even that medicine has its own limits. So you need to go to the doctor and heal yourself. You need to go to the armorer and repair your armor. So it was something that was already in the previous Assassin's Creed games, and I feel like this is kind of throwing back to that, and I actually like that system. I don't particularly like me having regenerative health every single time. It's easier to manage the regenerative health. It's easier to manage, but I just still like the game to have that slight amount of depth, and that feels like nice. So now that's just mine, and now I will read Eric's quote on this. In fact, Eivor can nearly do all of that. Eating is becoming a very important element, as you will need to eat food to regain some health. Collecting berries or hunting animals for food is essential for your survival. You can also eat mushrooms in wilderness, but there could be some risks there. Eivor can also sleep in the settlement to regenerate some health and wake up later in the day. In the settlement and in the cities and villages, you will be able to drink and even participate in some drinking challenges. The only element you cannot do is bathe, but if you feel the need to refresh yourself after a fight, you can jump at any time in water, and it will do the job of removing all blood splatters from you. Now, what did we learn from this? Now, eating is a very important element, and that you will need food to regain some health. That is something I already discussed like 2 minutes ago. Collecting berries, hunting animals for food is essential. But the interesting thing is, you can also eat random mushrooms, but there could be some risks. So there might be a poisoning mechanic in the game as well. And this seems kind of like a derivation from Red Dead Redemption 2, or maybe even a derivation from Kingdom Come Deliverance. Now, Kingdom Come Deliverance, in my opinion, has a really good system of these survival mechanics without it actually transitioning and becoming a survival game. The Kingdom Come Deliverance is much more immersive than Red Dead's system. So it might be a play on both these systems, and again we'll have to wait and see for that, but it does look like they are adding some amount of depth here. Now then, Eivor can also sleep in the settlement and regenerate some health and wake up later in the day. Again, something that we basically saw in Red Dead Redemption 2. Again, this might be interesting. This might actually change how the game is being played, as we need to manage our sleep properly. If we have things like fatigue, if we don't sleep enough, we get fatigue, something like what Kingdom Come Deliverance had, we might actually have a really good systems in our hand. And as it says, that you will be able to participate in drinking challenges, and you will be able to drink all of that. Furthermore, Eivor can also, as it says, Eivor can't really bathe per se, so there's no bathing thing going on. But if we jump into a river, then the blood spatters and dirt, everything goes away. And this is something we already had pretty much since Assassin's Creed 3. Even before that, I believe. Even in Assassin's Creed 2, once we go into the water, I don't believe we have any blood spatters left on our clothes. But I might be wrong on that. So at least I know for a fact it's there after Assassin's Creed 3. So keep that in mind. The next question was, can the hidden blade be used in combat as we saw in earlier games like Assassin's Creed 3 and Assassin's Creed 4? Also, to add to that, Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, Revelations as well, because all of that had hidden blade combat. So this is, again, I'm quoting Eric on this. The hidden blade cannot be used as a single weapon in combat. Our combat system puts the focus on dual wielding possibilities, allowing the player to experiment with a large variety of weapon combinations by deciding which weapon you put on your right and left hand. You can even create some unique fighting strategies by playing, for example, one shield in each hand. Now, this is kind of a baked response. We already kind of knew all of this. But the reason why I chose to highlight this question, even though I'm ignoring other questions, is because, interestingly, it was found by someone that you can actually use the hidden blade in combat. Now, it's not the way we used to have it back in Assassin's Creed 3 or 4 or even before that. Here is just one animation. So it was essentially a heavy attack finisher kind of a thing for the melee combat. When I say melee, I mean like just your hands, no weapons. When we use that, we can kind of do a whole stabby thing with our hidden blade. Now that's just one animation, and it was tweeted out, and Darryl McDevitt actually did respond to that by saying like they found it out and all that. It was funny and all. But yeah, it is there, but it's not a combat system per se. The hidden blade is not going to be a weapon. It's kind of going to be a weapon you use for finishers and stuff. So keep that in mind. Now, the last question in the interview, which was, when can the Fiend death ability be used and how does it work? Now, we never really saw this ability in action yet. We haven't even seen this ability in action yet. The only kind of inkling that we got about this ability was from the cinematic trailer where Eivor kind of, he's given up and all that, and then he goes and stabs the big guy. So, just for context, I said this just for context. Now to the actual quote. The Fiend death ability can be used anytime once you have acquired it. It will make Eivor fall to the ground and fake death. You can use it anywhere, in the middle of a fight, in the street, even alone in the wilderness if you want. Outside of the strategic advance to escape a fight or to lure an enemy towards you to assassinate them, the fun part of this ability is to play with the enemies and civilians' reactions. Be careful though, as you might not be able to fool someone twice. Again, this ability is definitely interesting. It's an ability that is going to be in the ability skill, so that skill tree, because it says so in literally the first sentence. It can be used anytime once you acquired it, so we have to go and acquire it. Now, the thing about this is I'm not quite sure if this is an ability or if this is a skill, because you might remember that these two things, they are separate from each other now. They are not in the same tree. Now, if this is an ability that we just find in the world, that's a different thing. If it's a skill we go from the skill tree, that's another thing entirely. I'm probably confusing abilities and skill. I need to see one of the videos again. But okay. So, we need to check that. I'm not quite sure which one it is. Now, either way, it's a thing that you activate and then you kind of fall to the ground. Now, essentially once you fake death, and you can use it anywhere, like even in the middle of a fight in the street, you can use it absolutely anywhere. So it seems like a button press kind of a thing. So you can use that to escape a fight. So say suppose, and there are like a massive battalion of enemies attacking you, and you just like give up and die. Maybe they will move away from you, like you are dead now, so who cares. But something that he said afterwards, to lure an enemy towards you to assassinate them. Essentially what you can do is you can go into a camp and lie dead, and once an enemy approaches you, you can then assassinate them. So this seems like another tool for stealth more than anything else. So essentially what will happen is you go into a camp, maybe you are fighting some people and you drop dead. So the enemies are completely disinterested and they leave. But then you can go up and assassinate them from behind. That's a trick you can use, but it does say that you might not be able to fool someone twice. So I'm assuming that in a particular scenario, if you have already played dead once and then you come back and you engage in combat again, if you do that again, this time the enemy will wonder whether or not you are actually dead. But I also don't think it's going to be that deep, because let's be honest, it's a Ubisoft game, so nothing is really deep in these games. So it's probably just going to be a cooldown of some sort. So there's going to be a 120-second cooldown or something like that. But again, that is something we'll have to wait and watch for. Again, as I said before, I'll leave the link to this interview in the comments down below, in a pinned comment down below, and also in the description. Actually, I don't even need to pin my comment, because who the hell even watches these videos? I mean, I know a few people who do, a few of my subscribers do, but other than that, not really many people watch my videos. Anyway, so yeah, that's basically all we know about this game now with this newer info. I hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely consider pressing the like button and subscribing for more content that is to come to the channel. I will be covering Valhalla. I've decided I will be covering Valhalla when it launches. I probably will have enough money at that point. So yeah, stay tuned for all of the coverage. Ubisoft Forward is coming on the 10th, so 2 days from now actually. We are getting the Ubisoft Forward, so stay tuned for that as well. I'm hoping we can learn some more info about Assassin's Creed Valhalla in that event. There are a few games coming. I will go about those when these games are revealed. So yeah, let's wait for the Ubisoft Forward. Let's wait for more information, and I'll leave you guys with it. So peace.